Welcome to Masala of Cultures.
A show by Luisa and Ashwin.
Join us to connect and grow through differences.
Hola Masala, we are glad to be back. Ashwin, you think that it was hard for me to get used to living in India, right? And the first time I came, it was very shocking. Can you actually imagine how it was like for my parents?
Yes. Well, your parents were here to attend our Hindu wedding in November, but they also got to experience India in all its glory and the other side as well.
Uh, they were willing to take the risk of traveling to the other side of the world to experience your culture, and that is what we are going to be focusing on today.
Yes, and I cannot even imagine because your father, he was here for the first time, like first time outside of Colombia. He's never gone in an international trip to another country, so it must have been incredibly hard. And I cannot even begin because they had a lot of challenges even before landing in India.
Uh-huh. Yes, there were many challenges. I think the most obvious one is that they don't speak English. That's hard by itself because all the airports outside of Latin America and Spain, they're going to be in English. So that, of course, brought a significant challenge. Then they also had some issues um, with their e-visa.
Yes, e-visa. Well, we planned everything for them, right? And unfortunately, they did not have the printed version of the e-visa with all the watermark, the photo, and everything. And honestly, I don't think it was our mistake because
It
well,
was our mistake. Like, I can only say it was definitely our mistake.
but come on, like they sent the confirmation email and there were like no instructions. They just said before the travel, go to this website, check if the visa is valid or not. And I mean, we just didn't care about it much because they just literally sent us a confirmation email saying that the visa is
Many
approved.
confirmation emails, actually.
Yes.
Many, like 5 times the same confirmation email. And we printed that confirmation email,
Yes.
which actually makes no sense. Think about it. Which country do you think will ever allow you inside only with a confirmation email? Like, there's
Yeah,
no number
yeah.
there, there's no picture. I think it was our mistake.
Well, it's understandable because we were doing a lot of things at once. We were preparing for the wedding, we were preparing for her parents to travel, and it's no easy journey. They had so many connections, first from Pereira to Bogota, and from Bogota to Spain, Spain to Qatar, and then Qatar to Chennai. It's like
Wow.
an incredible journey, a lot of layovers, a lot of time waiting in the airports.
So I just hope, I mean, like, we made that mistake and everyone has to learn from their mistakes. I hope if you are seeing this, you are more intelligent than us. um, but also keep your phones charged.
Yes. Why we say that? Because her parents, they did not have international charging adapters. So, well, their phones died in the middle of all this visa crisis.
Don't
And
play Candy Crush.
yep, her mom was playing Candy
No,
Crush
she
the whole
wasn't
flight.
playing Candy Crush.
No?
Mahjong.
Mahjong. Games.
Yeah. So,
But then, like, somehow they charged their phones, and we were able to send the actual e-visa, and they got it printed out in the airport. But they also had other challenges, like they had to
wait.
redistribute.
No, wait. Actually, they showed the digital version, and that was in Spain. They showed the digital version, but they didn't allow that. Why? I don't know. They wanted the printed version. They found a place, they made the whole printing process, and once they came back, the guard had changed. And they showed the digital version and they allowed them to pass.
Well, yeah, it always depends on the people who are there, but it's always advisable to print your
Print it.
e-visa because Like right after that, we made a trip. We'll talk about it later. But for that, they specifically mentioned that we needed a printed copy of the e-visa. So yeah, don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
But the other issues that I was talking about, like they also had to redistribute their liquids into smaller containers and like so many more issues, even before coming to India.
I mean, like, I understand. It's my parents. I can pass everything they do. Uh, but yeah, like we said many times, like nothing more than 100 milliliters. Don't carry this, and that. They still did it. I think sometimes as we say in Colombia, we sin for being so innocent, and that's not okay. Like there are certain rules, and we just have to follow them no matter what.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And yes, they overcame all of them. They were finally in India. Time to get some rest before all the adventure.
It was very interesting for them to be here. We had the chance to travel around the city. We live in Chennai, so they traveled to Mahabalipuram, Pondicherry, Tanjavur, Velangana,
Velankani.
sorry, New Delhi and Agra. Of course, we went to the Taj Mahal because that's like we hadn't gone actually. That was
No.
our first time too.
I mean, it's understandable for you. You've just been here for 1 year, but I'm an Indian here for like a quarter of a century, so I should have visited earlier. But anyway, yep, we visited the Taj Mahal. It was amazing, amazing. Yes, but what else? Like all these places, traveling, it's all great. But what about the differences? Because they had to live an entirely different world.
Yeah.
So how was it for them?
As you said, it's a whole different world. Everything is different. The way you eat with your hands is challenging for us, especially for Colombians. Like some people eat their chicken with gloves because they never want to touch food. So it is very challenging just to take all the rice with the sambar or any chutney. It's different. Then the weather is
Oh, yes.
extreme,
Oh.
Raghav. The weather is extreme here. I have lived here for a year. Everyone can ask me like, "Hey, do you like the weather?" No, the weather here is extreme. Even like I don't know how I'm going to handle summer, the next summer, because it is very hard for me.
Yeah, and let me give some context around it because, I mean, we're in December now. It's like the best weather you can hope for in Chennai.
It is really good.
But why she feels that way, it's because Colombia, like the place where she comes from especially, the temperature is always around 20 degrees Celsius. They don't have seasons, so it's like the same weather throughout the year, just perfect. So, and also there is less people, less noise, less cars on the road, and those are some differences. And as it's also a considerably colder place than Chennai, they wear closed footwear like shoes, boots. But in Chennai, the weather is just incredibly hot. It's a coastal city, and it's completely like on the ground, like ground level, right there in the mountains. Where in the ocean, the temperature is definitely going to be crazy. And also, we have millions of people
Uh-huh.
and a lot of cars honking, so it's very hard to feel silence or like the sense of quietness around. And it's incredibly hard. And we also wear open footwear like sandals or flip-flops because of course the weather is hot.
Or you go barefoot.
Yes. And
He almost
Barefoot.
killed my parents, okay? He almost killed my parents.
you cannot blame me entirely because, well, I mean, when we go to temples, we have to be barefoot.
Yes,
right?
of course. Uh-huh.
So we went in our car, so we just thought it would be better to put our footwear in the car so it doesn't get lost. We don't have to store it, get tokens, and go through the whole process, right? But then the driver had to park the car a little further away from the temple, and he couldn't bring it back because that road gets
It's only one side.
super crowded. So he just said, why don't we walk to the place where we parked? And we did not have our footwear.
That was, I mean, I have walked barefoot many times now.
Hmm.
But for my parents, that was their first time walking barefoot in the streets at night, crossing the streets, not knowing where you're stepping. My mom was bleeding her feet. Like, okay, maybe for you it's very normal. My dear Indian fellows, it's very normal for you, but our feet feel everything extremely sensitive. We have been used to wearing flip-flops and shoes all our lives. So when you have to have those tiny stones all the time hurting your feet, it's very hurtful.
Yeah.
It's very hurtful.
Well, let me clarify something. She was bleeding, but it was a tiny cut on her foot, just a tiny cut. And another funny thing is, so I was walking in the front, like leading them all, and after like a minute or so, I just looked back. They were nowhere to be seen. They were like so far away. They were walking so slowly. They were taking every single step like in a calculated way, not to step on any stones, which is impossible because there's stones everywhere. Like, I mean, we're not talking about big stones, of course. We're talking about tiny stones that's, or especially on the sides of the roads where we like have to walk. We cannot walk in the middle of the road. So
You can walk in the middle of the road. This is India.
you can if you're brave enough.
No, but we are not.
No. Well, yeah, that was a funny experience, and we all ended up laughing at the end. So all's well that ends well.
Yeah.
And coming to a topic that almost everyone asks about, food. It's also extremely different because here in India we use a lot of spices, peppers, chilies, every spicy thing you can imagine. So the food was definitely a challenge, but
They
They
managed
did.
it.
they did manage it, and they also like were able to like find some favorites that they could eat every day. So that was amazing.
Dosas. For everyone that I know, around like how do you call it? Latin Americans or yeah, they always say dosa. I will always say dosas. They are the best.
Yeah, and a few chutneys, especially coconut. And what else?
I don't know. Like talking about the challenges, those are obviously like the most superficial things that everyone talks about.
Yes.
Another point for them that was a little hard to digest is the fact that there are considerably more men in the streets than women. And that's very shocking and very hard to tolerate for many people who are not used to this way of living. But I think something I admire from my parents is that despite not understanding, they can live with it respectfully.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, it's incredibly important to have that kind of a mindset, especially if you're visiting a place or a country that's extremely different than yours, right? And no two countries are the same. Like, let's say you're just in Latin America visiting a neighboring country. Of course, you speak the same language. You have a lot of similar foods, but there will be some things that they do differently than you.
Of course.
So you have to be mindful
Even within
of
the
that.
country.
Yeah, like different regions of the same country. Like, I mean, we're in India, so it's definitely like resonating for many people because we have different languages, types of food. So, and you've also experienced it. So that kind of mindset is very admirable, and it's extremely necessary to have when you're traveling.
Also, my parents are 55 plus years old, and I do wonder, like, would I take those risks if I had only lived in one single place for my whole life? If I didn't know the language, if I didn't understand the culture, would I be so accepting and tolerate so many things that I don't really go with? And I find it, as I said, it's admiring. Like, I admire that, and I hope I can get some of their faith and bravery to do so many things for the rest of the years that come.
Yes, yes. Taking risks like your parents, it's very important because, well, You live only once. No, I don't really know. Maybe we have other lives. But anyway, like just take risks, and life is the best teacher, and the world is the best classroom for you to learn. So just enjoy, explore, and take risks as much as possible.
Yes, take risks and don't try to change others. Like, I think I also learned that from them and their experience here. They don't understand the things, but that doesn't mean that you can make a fuss about it. No, you just live with it. The only thing I can do is to change myself. I can have a better life. I can be the best version of myself every day. And maybe by doing so, I'll be able to inspire others, but only maybe. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me.
Yes, be respectful, be mindful no matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you're in the same place, different state, different country, doesn't matter. Just stay respectful, be mindful of the things you say, the things you do, and try not to hurt anybody or offend anybody. That's basically it. And well, we took a leaf out of that experience, and we tried to plan our honeymoon with just a couple of weeks left. Like from all the plane tickets, accommodations to my visa, we tried to get it all done in a couple of weeks. It almost it almost made us miss the whole trip, right? And it was a very stressful experience, but in the end we were able to go, and it was a fantastic experience.
It was amazing. And you will know more about this trip in our next episode. So make sure to visit our website, masalaofcultures.com, and follow us on Instagram at masalaofcultures. Nandri, Vanakkam.